Hello everyone, welcome to Skills Build Training YouTube channel. In today's video, we are going to learn Ruby on Rails. And we're also going to show you how to install it. We're also going to show you what IDE to use or IDE to use. IDE stands for Integrated Development Environment. My name is Talha and this channel is all about showing you how to become a highly paid IT pro really fast. Let's get started. First of all, let's talk about Ruby on Rails. Well, Rails is a framework for web application development. It is written in Ruby programming language. It was designed to make things easier for developers. Making programming a web application became easier as Ruby on Rails cared about all the assumptions a developer may need to get started. Experienced web developers have reported that it makes the development of web application more fun. Now, let's see how to install Ruby on Rails on your system. So in order to install Rails on your system, we need to have Ruby and DevKit installed on your system. For that purpose, go to your favorite browser and go to rubyinstaller.org. From there, click on the download button. Now you have a lot of options. If you do need Ruby on the Rails, you can directly download Ruby without DevKit from second partition on your screen. But we need DevKit as well. So here, this one is the most recommended one and we will download it. I have already downloaded it. Now open the downloaded file and then accept the license agreement and click on install, and this is a development tool chain. You need to have it. Now click on next and now it will take some time to install. Okay, so now here you can see on your screen it is installing it. It will take some time, so we will wait. Now the installation of our Ruby has been completed, and now check the checkbox and click on finish. What it will do is that it will open up the command prompt and it will run some code. Now, as you can see, CMD has opened up. Here we have three options to select from: a base installation, system updates, and development toolchain. The best option is to just hit enter and it will do its job. Again, it will ask about three options, and the best answer is just press the enter and again it will do its job. So now it's done. We have to restart our CMD and check if our Ruby got installed or not. So we'll open up our CMD and type Ruby-version. So as you can see that our Ruby got installed perfectly. So now let's see the list of gems installed on our system. And for that, we're going to type gem list. And then we're going to hit enter. So you can see that system has listed all the gems installed on our system. Now we will install our Rails on this system. So for that purpose, we'll type gem install Rails and then -no -document. And once we have done that, now hit enter and it would start to install Rails on your system. The thing is that we do not need the documentation, and this is why we have written no document in our command. It might take some time to install Rails on your system, so please be patient and wait. As we are done with installing the Ruby on Rails now, it's time to install the IDE for it. I have installed RubyMine and you can choose of your own choice. To download the RubyMine, just search it on the Google and it will take you to official website. From there, click on download and a new page will open up. From there, click on download again and it would start to download your IDE. So the thing is that I have already downloaded the IDE. So now you can see that we have downloaded it. So after downloading it, now open it for the installation. So here you can see the setup screen. Just click on next. And here you can choose the path. Click on next. From here you can select the desktop shortcut 64-bit launcher and click on next. Now click on install and it would start to install it. It is installing it, so we will wait. After installation, just check this box which says run Ruby mine and then click on finish. So here you will get to a page something like this. So from here you can choose any option that you like. I'll choose for evaluation, and now we are good to go with using Ruby mine. So now we are going to create a project. So we'll click on it and we'll add the SDK, and from here we'll choose this option which says ruby.exe. Click on it and it would open up and load components and prepare the workspace. We have created the project successfully. So now we are going to create a file in the project. So right click on the project, it would get to a new and then click on file. Give name to your file and select the type of file. So select the Ruby file and then make sure that you have marked open matching file in Ruby mine. Then click on OK. Now we are good to code in our IDE or Integration Development Environment. Let's start to code in Ruby on Rails. Now let's talk about print statement. Let's say we want to print hello world. For that, we'll just write here print on our screen, and then I will write here double quotes, and inside those double quotes I'm gonna type in hello world. And once I've done that, now I will run the program. Here for the hello world, you can see the output hello world down here. We can use both single and double quotation marks to print something. So let's go ahead and let's use single quotation marks as well. So if we would use the single quotation marks, then we can also write hello world inside of it. Okay, so we'll run the program and we'll get the same result. Now let's talk about puts. We can use puts and print to print anything, but the difference between puts and print is that the puts command add a line and print do not do that. So let's see an example. Here you can see that after using the puts command, we have output on a new line, while with the print command you can see that we have the output on the same line. As we all know that in many programming languages we have to use the semicolon, and most of the time we have spent a lot of time on solving an error. And we all might have experienced that error was all about missing a semicolon, right? Guess what? In Ruby we do not have to worry about it. As you can see that putting a semicolon or leaving it will not affect the output of our system. So if we put a semicolon here and if we do not put the semicolon here, still it would print out. So let me just remove the semicolons and then run again. And here you can see that it is not giving us an error. I'm using a shortcut to run the program. So you can use Ctrl Shift plus F10 to run your program. Now let's talk about arithmetic operators in Ruby on Rails. So as we all know that plus, minus, asterisk and division are arithmetic operators. Let's create a variable with name variable1 and give it a value of 5. Let's make one thing clear here. Ruby is case sensitive, which means that variable 1 and capital VAR1, they are different. So we have to be careful while using them. For example, as I have given the value of 5 to variable 1, now I will give the value of 6 to capital VAR1. And let's see if they are different or same. So here I will put the variable 1 with capital V and the small v, and let's run it and let's see what it has effect on our output. So here you can see that VAR1 with small v has printed out 5 and the VAR with capital V has printed out 6. And that's why you should be careful because Ruby is case sensitive. So here you can see that in order to perform addition, subtraction, division and multiplication, we have two variables and I have performed all 4 arithmetic operations using 4 variables, right? So these 4 variables are going to store the results of these operations. So I'm just simply gonna put it here. So I'll write here puts, and then I would just simply print out the variable. After add, I'll write here sub, and then I will write here multiplication, MUL, and then I will print out the division here, okay? So now if I run this program, you would be able to see that it is giving us the result. For addition, 5 plus 10 is 15. For subtraction, 5 minus 10 is minus 5. And for multiplication, you can see that it is giving us 50 because 5 multiplied by 10 would be 50. So here you can see that for the last division, it is giving us 0. So when you divide 5 by 10, the answer is like 0.5. And the thing is that it is printing out in integer, right? So it will just print out 0. It's not going to print out 0.5. So now let me show you how you can increment our variable value. One way is that we can just add the value in our variable, or we can use the format variable1 plus and then put an equal sign, and then we write here 5. So what would happen that it would add 5 to the initial value of variable 1. Okay, so now we will run our program. So when we run it, we get the result, which is essentially 10. So it has added the previous value of variable 1, which is 5, to the next value, which is 5. And the result is 10. Now let's do another fun thing with variable. As we have value of variable 1, which is 5, now let's put multiplication sign twice in front of it and add any number, and then let's try to run the program. So when we do this, now we're gonna print it, okay? We print the variable 1, we run our program, and here you can see that the result is 125, which means that it has taken the cube of 5, okay? And the similar way, if I would have put 2 there, like instead of 3, it would have taken the square of 5. So if we would put 2 here, it would take a square of 5, okay? So when we run it, you can see 25. So whatever you would put after 2 sterics, it would be taken as the power of 5. Now let's talk about conditional statements in Ruby on Rails. We all know about conditional statements. Let's see how if-else statements work in Ruby. We all know that we have condition to check in if-else statement. In case of true condition, if statement runs, and in case of false statement, the else statement runs. Let's take an example. I have a variable named as x, and I have given it a value of 10. Now let's use this in our if-else statement. We'll write here if, and then we write here x greater than 5. Then we puts it like puts x is greater than 5. We write here quotes, okay, single quotes maybe, and then we write here x is greater than 5. And then we're gonna write here else statement, and right after the else statement we also puts, and we write here x is less than 5. And then we need to ensure the ending of if statement. So for that, we already have end written. So the thing is that before I run this program, I'm gonna tell you that what this program is doing. Here you can see that x has the value 10. So it would check if 10 is greater than 5. Yes, it is true. It would execute this statement or this if block. So this would execute this if block. Let's say that if it would have been false, then in that case it would execute this else block. So right now if we run our code, here you can see that we have x is greater than 5, right? So if we reverse this angle bracket, or if we change the value of x and make it 4, and now if we run it, now this statement is false. So it says x is less than 5. Which means that it has printed out the else block. Now, if you want to have multiple else statements, then we can do it something like this. So we can write here if, and then we write here a condition, and then we write here maybe a puts statement, like something high, and then we can have here else if, okay? So then we can write here another condition, And you can write here anything like puts, and then you can write here something like hello, and then you can write here else block. So the thing is that you can have as many else if blocks as you want. So what would happen, I'll explain to you in a while how it would check. So the thing is that here we have multiple if else statements. So what would happen that it would first check the if statement. If it is not true, then it would check the else if statement. And then if it is not true as well, then it would execute the else block. So when I have run this program, you can see what would happen is that x value is 10. So the first statement is if statement. It would come here and it would check. So 10 is greater than 5, it is true. So it would execute high and it would break the if statement. Let's say if we change the condition and if we make x equals 4 or something smaller, so like 4, and now what would happen that it would come here and it would execute the by. And the reason behind that is that 4 is greater than 5. This is a false statement, so it would not execute the if block. Then it would go to the else if block and it would check if x is greater than 10. It's also false because 4 is not greater than 10, and that is why it has printed out the else block and it has printed out by. So if I change the value of x to 11 or let's say greater than 10, if I run it, here you can see that now it has changed and printed out. Now let's talk about while and while modifier. Let's take a variable named as I and initialize it to 0. And let's take another variable named as a number and initialize it to 10. Now let's use the while loop. We check if our I is less than number. For that, we will write while I and then we'll write here the number. So we'll write here do and then we'll write here end. So inside of here, we can write puts I, which would print out the value of I, and then we will increment it. So we'll just write here I plus equals 1. Okay. So what it would do, it would increment the I. It would increment the I one by one until the i's value becomes greater than the number, which is essentially 10. So it would print out starting from 0 till 9. And when the value, because of the increment, which we have I plus equals 1, so because of the increment, when the value becomes greater than 10 or 10, it would not execute the put statement inside the while block. Now let's see how we can write a do while work, or how we can write a do while statement in Ruby. We have to write the code like this. So first of all, write here begin, and now we will write here puts I, and then we will write here I plus equals 1. And then after end, we are going to write the statement or the condition, and we'll write here while I is greater than or less than number. Okay. We have written here less than. Now what will happen is that our program will run, but the condition will be checked later. Here we have the value. So here what would happen that first our program will be executed and then the condition will get checked. So here you can see that it has printed out 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Our i's value is 5. So when the begin statement starts, it prints out 5, okay? And then it comes down and it increments, and then it comes down and checks the I statement or the value, the condition. So 5 is less than 10, right? So it would go back, it would keep on executing until the value becomes 9, okay? So it would print out 9 and then it would increment and then it would come back to the loop. When the value would become 10, it would not execute it because 10 is not less than 10, right? Because the number has the value 10. So that's how you work with while and do while loops. Now let's talk about for loops, break, and next statement. Let's see the syntax of for loop. So for loop starts with like you write here for, and then you write here I, and then you write here in, and then you write here 0, double dots, and 10. So what it means that it is going to check from 0 till 10. The for loop is going to run from 0 to till 10. So what I would do, I would put I here, and now I will run the program. So what would happen that it would print out from 0 till 10. We can use if statements inside the for loop as we do it in other programming languages. For example, we'll write here for loop, and then inside the for loop, we're going to type here if statement, like if x is greater than, let's say, 5, okay? So what would happen is that when the value becomes 5, I want it to break. So I'll write here then, okay, which is a keyword. And then we write here break, and then we end the if statement. So here you can see that we have a for loop, and then inside the for loop, we have an if condition. So the condition says if I is greater than 5, then break. The loop will run from 0 till 10, right? But the thing is that when the i's value would become 5, it would break. So here you can see that it printed out 0 till 5. When the value became 5, 5 is greater than 5, which is a false, right? So it passed it. It increments it. The I becomes 6. So when it becomes 6, it comes down here. 6 is greater than 5. So when the value of I would become 6, then it would execute the break statement. And when it would execute the break statement, it would break the loop and it would not execute anymore. So now let's talk about arrays in Ruby on Rails. So let's make an array. The array syntax is something like this. You write here number, which is a variable name, and then you write here array dot, and then you write here big brackets. What I'm going to do is that I'm going to write here the values, okay? So in Ruby, we have to write the word array to let the program know that we are going to use the array. Now we are going to give values here. Okay, so first of all, let's say we write here from 1 till 10. Okay, these are the values that I have given to array. This is only one way to give values. The second way to give values is something like this. So you write here array, you write here big brackets, and inside these big brackets, you give all the values that you want to give. These are two ways how we can declare an array. So now let's print both type of the arrays. Okay, so in order to print the array, the first kind of array, what you do is that you write here puts, and then you write here number. And to print out the second type, you also need to do the same. You write here puts, and then you write here the variable name, and then you run the program. And here you can see that from 1 till 10, it has printed out the first array, and then again from 1 till 10, it has printed out the second array. In case of strings, we will use the arrays the same way we used it for the integers, but we will just use the double quotation marks. If we want to write here the array, and then we write here the name, so we write here Bob, and then we write another argument, like let's call it Proctor. So we write here Proctor, and yeah, that's how you basically add a string. So if we want to print the index of the array, we have to put the index number in front of the array while we are printing the variable. So the thing is that arrays indexes, they start from 0. So the first value, which is Bob for number 2 array, it is on the 0th index. So here you can see that we have Bob printed out. And if we want to print out the last string value, for that we'll just write here it starts from 0, so we'll write here 11. Okay, so the total values in array is like 12, right? So you just minus 1 whatever index you want to print or whatever value you want to print, and that's how you can print out that value. So for that, we have written here 11th index, and now the Proctor has got printed out. If you want to print out both, you can come here and then you write here puts, and then you write here number 2 array, which is essentially, and then you write here 0. So now if you hit enter, or basically if you run it, Control Shift F10, you can see that Proctor and Bob, both names have been printed out. In case we want to print the range in an array, we just have to put range in front of the variable like this. You just write here 2, and then you write here comma, and then you write here 5. So what would happen that it would print out all the values from the second index till the fifth index. Now let's talk about uppercasing, capitalization, and reversing. Let's say we have a string variable named as something name and we have the value Bob. So what would happen is that now let's print it using puts. I write here name dot capitalize here. And now what's gonna happen if I run the program, you can see that the value we have given in like Bob with a small or lowercase b, but it has changed the first letter and now it has uppercase B and then we have Bob. Similarly, if we want to use uppercase instead of capitalize, it will convert all the characters into uppercase. So we run our program and here you can see that now we have Bob and it has capitalized or turned all the letters or words into uppercase. Same goes for the downcase. Just put downcase instead of uppercase like name.downcase, and when you run it, it would convert all the letters back into the smaller ones. So now if you want to reverse a string, all you have to do is that you have to write here name.reverse, and what would happen? That it would reverse the value of the string. So we have a string named as Proctor, and here you can see that it has reversed the string successfully. For length, we have to use a keyword named length, and it will give us the length of a string. So if we write here name.length, and here you can see that it has counted the letters of Proctor and it has given us the result 7. So that's it from this video. I hope you have enjoyed it. We have done the installation of Ruby and Rails. We have shown you how to install RubyMine, and we have shown you how to create a project, create a file, how to run your first program, and then we have discussed if-else statements, for loops, while loops, and we have also discussed the uppercase, capitalization, and downcase, how to reverse a string, and we have also shown you how you can figure out the length of a string. Hope you've learned something new. Thank you so much for watching. Do not forget to subscribe to our channel to get the latest videos to help you advance your IT career.